Right. Hello, everybody. Today I am interviewing my nephew, Keiran Koit. And Keiran is
Hello.
studying to be a engineer. Keiran, can you tell us what engineering you're studying and what university you are at?
Okay, so I'm currently at the University of Auckland. I'm in my second year, and so I'm specializing in mechatronics engineering. That's
Okay.
the pathway that I've decided to go down.
And what is mechatronics engineering? Explain that for like kids.
Um, it's kind of like I guess it's just robotics is probably the easiest way to summarize it. So it's taking like mechanical systems, like things that move, and combining it with the electrical side. So yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of robotic stuff, like the combination of the two.
So would you say if you are really into robotics at school, this would be a good sort of field to go into?
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely there's at least from what I've done at the moment. There's quite a lot of you do get hands-on experience working with electronics. You know how to assemble an electrical system, how to do the wiring, all the soldering, all that kind of stuff, and also how to design like pick servos, that kind of thing, design everything around that.
Yeah. And did you do much robotics leading up to this?
I did a bit of robotics when I was younger, but it's not something you have to have an extensive amount of robotics experience with, although it would definitely help.
Okay. And what subjects did you take at school to get into this course?
Um, I took the main ones. The requirements for engineering is maths and physics. So obviously I did both of those, and I did do NCA, so I'm not 100% sure what the subjects are with those. But I did IB, so I did higher level maths, AA, and high level physics, and those are the two main ones.
Okay. And what do you want to do when you finish university?
Um, I'm still kind of up in the air about it. There's a couple of fields that I'm interested in, but I think it'd be interesting to work in like the aerospace sector.
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of cool developments and technology over there, and it's I find that pretty interesting. Otherwise, maybe something to do with transport, something like that,
Okay. And
transport design.
what sort of programs and stuff are you using at university?
Um, there's quite a few. The main ones we use are for 3D modeling. We use Autodesk Inventor. We've used for electrical circuits. We've used a bit of Tinkercad. We use MATLAB, C++. Those are kind of the main two we've used so far in terms of programming languages. Other than that, we've used a bit of Arduino.
Mhm.
We've used Vex robots as well, but those are kind of the main ones.
And do you have many girls on your course?
I think it's more than you would expect. I think it's probably about I'd say a 60-40 split girls to boys. At least in the course that I'm taking. I know in other specs it varies from. I think in biomedical it will be a bit higher, and then in maybe like a mechanical it'll probably be a bit lower.
Okay. Um, what what advice would you give to any teenagers or like kids at school that would be thinking about going into engineering? Is there any subject areas you think they should focus on, or any sort of extra things that they could learn to get them into university?
Um, I think obviously outside of the kind of the academic side, like the maths and physics, that's as kind of the fundamentals, I guess. Outside of that, working on projects like if you have Lego Mindstorms, um, or if you're trying to get into mechatronics, if you're interested in that kind of field, working with kind of like Arduino or like those kind of projects. Otherwise, I think regardless of your spec, having a bit of an understanding of programming is really good.
Hmm.
Just basic programming languages, um, even just Python, just having a general understanding of like how the languages work, what the kind of general structure is very very helpful. Especially in first year, they you have to do programming and stuff, and it's good to have a foundation.
Yeah. In your
Um,
first year, does that cover like a bunch of areas and then you specialize in mechatronics?
yeah, yeah. So first year is kind of a general year, so everyone takes the same papers. And I think that you have to do dynamics, statics, a maths course, a programming course, an electrical course, materials course. So it's kind of they give you a bit of everything, and then depending on which spec you go into, they'll build on elements from previous courses. So for me, they're building on the electrical side, the robotic side, like the material side as well, like mechanics, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, and I think we're doing dynamics and fluids and stuff next semester, which is obviously building on a lot of the maths concepts.
Cool. Okay. So would you have like what actually before I finish this, did you come across any like major challenges when you were going into university and wanting to take this up?
Um, are you talking about like challenges like transitioning from high school to university, or like
Well,
while in
yeah,
high school?
yep.
Um, I think it's definitely a big transition. Just in terms of the way I think from the main thing is the pacing at which the content is delivered.
Mhm.
The pacing and also the expectations on you. It's a lot. I personally found it a bit nicer just because there's a little bit more flexibility and freedom in terms of the hours and the lectures, just because it's a bit less, it's less structured in a way. And so it's just easier to work around with your own schedule, and like it takes up a bit less time. Like the time that you have to invest is less set in stone, so you can work around it more easily, which I thought was nice. But there is definitely a big jump in terms of pace. Like the amount of stuff that you would learn in, I don't know, 2 terms or even a year is covered in a couple of weeks or a couple of months in one semester. And so there is definitely a much higher pace, and so that was a pretty big jump for me.
And are you finding you've got quite a lot of homework, like self-directed stuff at home you have to do?
Um, it's I wouldn't say it's initially more than high school, but it's the things that you're working on are much more. It's not like if you miss a homework assignment, it's a oh that's it's kind of the teacher like it's not. It's more important that you're hitting those deadlines. I guess it's
Mhm.
not that there's. I wouldn't say there's necessarily a greater quantity, but it's the quantity of work that you're doing is more important. Like the work that you're doing is more. There's a very set. It's a very set thing, and if you miss the deadline, you've missed the deadline, and that's kind of it. You can't go to the teacher and ask them for an extension.
Yeah, yeah. It's a bit of a jump up when you come out of that bubble of school where you've got a little bit more flexibility and teachers that have probably known you for quite some time and can be a little bit more flexible with what they're doing as opposed to being at university when you've got that deadline and you have to meet it. End of story.
Yeah.
'Cause that's the real world.
Yeah, especially
Yeah.
if it's a group project as well. If you miss a deadline, your group members will not be happy about that.
Do you have a lot of group projects?
There's been a couple. I think there's probably about maybe one or two every semester,
Yeah.
which is good. And some of them you get to pick your own groups. So last semester, the semester that just happened, I was in a group with some people I know, and that was quite good. But in previous semesters, I've been in groups with people I didn't know, and that was also it's a good opportunity to meet new people and kind of expand your social circles, I guess. And also just like obviously different people have different strengths, so having
Yeah.
that mix of like experiences and stuff is always useful.
Cool. Okay. Well, thanks for your time, Kieran. That's actually really helpful, and I'm sure there's a lot of kids that would be really interested to hear what you've got to say and get some ideas about what they may want to do in the future with engineering.
No
Thank you.
worries. I'm glad I could help. I hope anyone listening to this has found it interesting or useful, informative.